The dress was never just a dress. It was the last thing my mother ever touched before cancer took her. She had spent 6 months sewing every tiny bead by hand. Every stitch carried a memory. Every piece of lace reminded me of the nights we sat together in our living room while she smiled through the pain. A week before she died, she placed the finished dress inside a garment bag and whispered, "Wear this when you marry the right man." For 8 years, I never opened that bag until Ethan proposed. When I finally tried it on, it fit almost perfectly. I cried, not because I looked beautiful, because for a moment, it felt like my mother was standing beside me again. Everyone knew how much that dress meant, especially Ethan's mother. Linda never liked that I wanted a small wedding. She wanted a ballroom, 300 guests, white horses, a string quartet. She called my mother's handmade dress old-fashioned. More than once, she offered to buy me an expensive designer gown. I always smiled. "No, thank you." She stopped smiling. 2 days before the wedding, Ethan asked if I could leave the dress at his parents' house overnight. His mother wanted to steam it professionally. I hesitated, but Ethan insisted. "She's just trying to help." Those words had become a warning I didn't recognize. The next afternoon, Linda called. Her voice sounded panicked. "Sweetheart, there was an accident." I drove there as fast as I could. The moment she opened the laundry room door, my knees almost gave out. The garment bag lay on the floor, half melted. The dress inside was black, burned. The lace had curled into ash. The bodice was covered in dark scorch marks. I couldn't breathe. Linda covered her mouth. "I'm so sorry. I accidentally left the iron on." She started crying. Ethan hugged her. "Not me, her." I stared at what was left of my mother's final gift. Then I noticed something strange. The ironing board wasn't burned. The table wasn't burned. Only the dress. Nothing else. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something didn't feel right. The following morning, my maid of honor came over to help salvage what we could. While searching through the damaged fabric, she found something. A cigarette lighter, hidden inside the garment bag. Neither Ethan nor his parents smoked, but Linda did. She always kept the same silver lighter in her purse. I remembered seeing it hundreds of times. My hands started shaking. I confronted Ethan. He immediately defended his mother. "You're accusing her without proof." "Without proof? Then why was her lighter inside my dress bag?" Linda claimed she must have dropped it weeks earlier, except she'd never been near the dress until that day. The room went silent. For the first time, nobody believed her. Our wedding still happened, but not the way anyone expected. I walked down the aisle wearing a simple ivory dress I bought that morning. It wasn't the dress my mother made, but I carried one small piece of it, the untouched lace from the sleeve, wrapped around my bouquet. During the reception, Linda kept trying to apologize. Nobody listened. People had already started whispering. Then my cousin quietly handed me her phone. She had security camera footage from the hallway. Linda had entered the room 3 separate times. The final time, she stayed inside for nearly 20 minutes, far longer than steaming a dress would ever take. There was no video inside the laundry room, but there didn't need to be. Everyone understood. It wasn't an accident. It was jealousy. She couldn't stand the idea that something my mother made meant more to me than anything she could buy. That single decision cost her everything. Ethan finally saw what I had been trying to tell him for years, not because of my words, because of hers, or rather, because she had none. She couldn't explain the lighter. She couldn't explain the video. She couldn't explain why only the dress had burned. 6 months later, we moved across the country. Linda wasn't invited, not to holidays, not to birthdays, not to our home. A year later, our daughter was born. We gave her my mother's name, When she was old enough to ask why a small piece of lace was framed on our living room wall, I told her the truth. Your grandmother made me a beautiful wedding dress. She looked at the faded lace. What happened to the rest? I smiled sadly. Someone tried to destroy it. She looked back at the frame. They failed. Because in the end, the dress was never what my mother really gave me. She gave me the strength to recognize the people who truly belonged in my life and the courage to let everyone else go